ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि वदन्ति भूरिराजनाः. Your words are like nectar, bringing life to scorched souls. They are praised by poets and remove all sin. They are auspicious to hear, wonderful and exalted. Those who spread these words throughout the world are truly giving souls. Welcome, everyone, to our class on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We are on chapter 26, Festival at Adhar's house. And the date is Sunday, August 3rd, 1884. This, I mentioned last time, that we actually don't get to the festival at the other's house till much later. The chapter actually begins with Sri Ramakrishna in his room at Dakshineshwar, and there's a party of bowels from Shibpur who were visiting at the time. And of course, M is there, Rakal, Latu, Harish, and some others. So we'll continue the conversation. We're on page 504. This Sri Ramakrishna was talking to Latu, and he said, I have a request to make of you. Please tell Baburam to stay with me a day or two during Rakal's absence. Otherwise, I shall feel very unhappy. So these are all, of course, the direct disciples. Baburam will eventually come to stay. And we know that Sri Ramakrishna wanted him there because he was such a pure soul, and that Sri Ramakrishna couldn't bear the touch of anybody who wasn't perfectly pure when he was in that highest state of samadhi. So this is a little about Baburam. Sri Ramakrishna asked M whether he thought that Baburam was guileless. Now, M knew him. He actually studied in M's school. I don't know if M was his teacher or not, but I think M was headmaster at one of the schools. And these are always funny questions when Sri Ramakrishna will ask somebody else about a third person. That not so much that he needs somebody to tell him. He knows that Baburam is guileless, and he also knows that M has a high opinion of him, but he likes to ask these types of questions. Sometimes is to judge not the person he's asking about, but the person he's asking. So, and just out of curiosity, sometimes it's not curiosity. Sometimes he's judging the spiritual sensitivity of somebody, especially when he asks, how do you look upon me? That's a different type of thing. But now he's asking, how do you look upon Baburam? And they'll be talking about this Baburam as a boy. He was actually 2 years older than Swamiji and Swami Brahmananda and some of the others, a little bit older, but still at that time he's rather young. So Sri Ramakrishna asked M whether he thought that Baburam was guileless. We don't get any reply. We assume that M said yes, but he doesn't put anything there. Presently, the master left them, going in the direction of the pine trees. After a few minutes, M and Latu, standing in the Panchavati, saw the master coming back toward them. Behind him, the sky was black with the rain cloud. Its reflection in the Ganges made the water darker. The disciples felt that the Master was God incarnate, a divine child, 5 years old, radiant with the smile of innocence and purity. Around him were the sacred trees of the Panchavati, under which he had practiced spiritual discipline and had beheld visions of God. At his feet flowed the sacred river Ganges, the destroyer of man's sins. The presence of this God-man charged the trees, shrubs, flowers, plants, and temples with spiritual fervor and divine joy. The Bengali language has a very colloquial style for speaking and a very formal style for writing. And M is highly poetic. These descriptive uh, passages, especially with the moon shining on the Ganges and everything, are really very beautifully written. Yeah, highly poetic, beautifully written.
What does it have to do with a 5-year-old? Like here he said 5 and
Yes,
Ram Lala is
Panchama
also 5.
Vashara, yeah, Varshia Balaka. This is a standard thing that the Paramahamsa acts like a 5-year-old or likes the company of a 5-year-old because that particular age, they're old enough so that they can play around a little independently. They're not so old that they've lost their innocence. Something about that age. I don't know if it's a universal or always true, but we give them different things. The terrible twos when kids are 2 years old, at different ages. They 5 years old. They're supposed to be very carefree and just joyful and everything. They're not old enough to start worrying about things too much. Uh, it doesn't have to be exactly 5, but this has become a traditional thing. Panchula Varshia, yeah, the boy 5 years old. So, yeah, some of these things uh, just become part of the culture. Could be a 6-year-old boy, but this becomes just the standard phrase that we hear. Sri Ramakrishna returned to his room and sat on the small couch. He began to praise a medicine that a certain brahmachari had prepared for him. Referring to this man, Hazra said, "He is now entangled in many worldly anxieties. What a shame! Look at Navai Chaitanya of Konagar. Though a householder, he has put on a red cloth." Now, Sri Ramakrishna was always surrounded by people who like to criticize others. And Hazra was a specialist. He and especially liked to criticize all the young boys that came to Sri Ramakrishna because he thought that they should be doing japa all of the time. And they were just enjoying the company of Sri Ramakrishna. So we have him, we have others also. Ram, Ram Babu, he was also good at raising these types of questions and things. And Sri Ramakrishna, sometimes he'll give some assent or say something, but he doesn't appreciate it so much. The type of critical attitude. The master, what shall I say? I clearly see that it is God Himself who has assumed all these human forms. Therefore, I cannot take anybody to task. Yeah, we have the teaching that we always attribute to Holy Mother, not to see the faults of others. And there are many different ways that we can try to put that into practice. This, of course, is a very beautiful way to do it. If we see that God Himself playing the part of each and every person in this play, this Leela, then who to criticize? If we can see that. If we can see that everyone is acting according to their personality and their samskaras and everything, then also how much can we criticize other people? The scorpion and the Satan idea. So different ways to practice it. But for Sri Ramakrishna, this wasn't a spiritual attitude. This was a living reality. He saw that he used to like to say, "I see Rama in all the men and Sita in all the women." That he saw the divine dwelling in all. So then, yeah, how to criticize one or praise one. So he said, therefore, I cannot take anybody to task. Hazra. Narendra is again involved in a lawsuit, so he's not going to give up. He still wants to bring up some controversial things. And then Sri Ramakrishna will say an interesting thing, Master. He doesn't believe in Shakti, the Divine Mother. If one assumes a human body, one must recognize her. Now, of all the possible explanations, he could say that this is part of Mother's play. He could say that this is some karma. He has to go through all different explanations for why he has to go through all of this. But he brings this up that because Narendra was so much against this Kali worship. Now, was that really the reason? Does Sri Ramakrishna think that that's the full reason? That we can't say exactly. But when Narendra asked Sri Ramakrishna to pray to Mother Kali that night of Kali Puja when he has his kind of conversion, and Sri Ramakrishna says to him, I can tell her to remove the problem of your mother and brothers and sisters starving and everything, but she won't listen to me because you don't accept her. So ultimately, it's all his play that Narendra will have a wonderful experience in the Kali temple, and then Sri Ramakrishna will bless the family that they won't suffer. They'll have simple clothes and food and everything. What exactly is going on is almost impossible to say. How much of this is karma? How much is chance? How much is lila? How much is this Divine Mother is angry at him, so making him go through that? Karma of his father to die young, bad health habits of his father, hereditary, impossible to say. This cause and effect is a very strange thing. We really don't know very much about it. The Swami Turiyananda gives a beautiful example. He says, is it free will or is it predestination? If you cut a piece of paper with scissors, can you say which one of the two blades is doing the cutting? We can't really say. We come up with these explanations just try to help ourselves. But a lot of this was Sri Ramakrishna's longing for Narendra to accept Mother Kali, not for any sectarian reason, but to broaden his understanding of the nature of reality, that it's not this dry, absolute Brahman that has no interest in anything, that bring a little sweetness into it, and this idea of Shakti, and this idea that not everything is in our hands, that the Shakti is Ichamai, that she's everything will go back to the will of the Divine Mother. So for many reasons, he was anxious for Narendra to accept his Mother Kali. Hazra. Narendra says, if I believed in Shakti, all would follow me. Therefore, I cannot. Now, I think what he's really saying is that if I proclaim that I believe in Shakti, because he knew he had such a magnetic personality that people followed him. If he's going to join the Brahmo Samaj, then his friends will follow him. He was a leader, born leader. And this is why when Rakal started bowing down at the temple and developing some devotional nature, that was contrary to his pledge to the Brahma Samaj, that Ramakrishna said to Narendra, and don't say anything to him, let him go along his way, because he knew he could have a great influence over him. Master, but it is not good for him to go to the extreme of denying the Divine Mother. He is now under Shakti's jurisdiction. That means we're all under the jurisdiction of this play of Maya and this play of karma, however we understand it. That as much as we think we're perfectly free to make any decision, that there's always this load of past karma, and whatever this, see, divine will and karma, really, karma can be our way of understanding divine will. That can be our way that this is the divine plan, that we're responsible for everything that happens to us. I say this for one reason, that there's one conversation, because Thakur was always talking about everything is the will of Divine Mother. So somebody is saying to him, this will come up later, much later, that if everything is the will of Mother, then I can do whatever I want. Yeah. And then he says, if you chew chilies, won't your tongue burn? Now, it looks like a non sequitur. What's the connection between the two? The connection is that the will of the Divine Mother is that we suffer from the consequences of our past action. The law of karma. Huh? We chew chilies and the lips will burn, of course. Yeah. So, under Shakti's jurisdiction, that we're part of this play of this cosmic play. We don't know how it started or where it's going or anything. We have a little room inside to feel that we're making decisions and everything, but even that we don't know. Even a judge, while giving evidence in a case, comes down and stands in the witness box. To him, have you seen Narendra lately? See, this is a period when Narendra wasn't coming too often to Sri Ramakrishna. He was, first of all, busy searching for a job, trying to find some way. His father had died earlier, trying to find some way to help support the family. He was the oldest son. The others were too young to get a job, of course. And probably a little bit of embarrassment. Now, not even good clothes to wear. And they came from a very well-to-do family. And a lot of his friends, not his close friends, but others who praised him so much, half abandoned him. And he became friendly with his Ananda Guha that a lot of people didn't like and thought that he was keeping bad company and everything. Plus, he proclaimed to his friends from time to time he didn't believe in God anymore. So everyone said, oh, Narendra has become an atheist. So Sri Ramakrishna heard a lot of things secondhand. A lot of the criticism of Narendra, he said, stop. I'll never believe that my Naran can behave like that. And of course, he was right. And this Ananda Guha, it turned out, is not such a bad person. And he was, at least, it gave him good friendship during that period. So Sri Ramakrishna was very concerned about him and longed to see him. We know he couldn't go very long without seeing him, without really missing him so much. So to M, have you seen Narendra lately? M, not during the last few days, Master. See him and bring him here in a carriage. To Hazra. Well, what is his relation to this, meaning himself? Now again, he's asking a question of somebody whose opinion he doesn't really care about that much and who has no idea whatsoever. A little bit baffling sometimes. Why he'll ask, and then he'll get an answer that's completely off the wall, and then he won't bother to correct him. So what kind of answer does he get? Hazra, he expects help from you. No, this is because this is the nature of Hazra's mind. He's doing his job to get money and everything. Yeah. So he's assuming this Narendra, he'll also want to come and get help from him. Now, Sri Ramakrishna knows that this is the one that I brought down from this divine realm, Saptarsi realm. That he'll be my main helper in this mission that I have. And he's asking this Hazra, what is that relationship? As if Hazra has any clue. And then he gives such a funny answer. He expects help from you. And then Sri Ramakrishna doesn't say anything. Then, and what about Bhavanath? Now, this is a much trickier question. Would he come here so frequently if he didn't have good tendencies? What about Harish and Latu? They always meditate. Why is that? Anyhow, I want to talk about the Bhavanath a little bit because he's a mystery, a little bit, what happens to him. And I think, as we've seen, I've made a big point of Adhar, how we get a bad impression of him because we think he's always trying to get a big job and make a lot of money when he was a wonderful person. We get a bad impression of Ishan just because of that one incident when Sri Ramakrishna scolded him so much. He wanted to do that Buddhist jhana. He was also a wonderful person. Bhavanath, we get a bad impression of him because when Sri Ramakrishna was ill, first of all, he married when everyone thought that he'll be one of the monastics, and had a child, and it moved a little bit and wasn't able to come to see Sri Ramakrishna very often. And Sri Ramakrishna made some remarks that this is a sifting of the inner circle and outer circle. There'll be some, and then he mentions Bhavanath, who we don't see so much and everything. So we get a little bit of impression that he kind of just fell away. A little bit wrong, that he died very young, but a little bit wrong, and he was very highly respected among the others. But Sri Ramakrishna, on many occasions, referred to him as belonging to that circle of the direct disciples and being a Nitya Siddha, born perfect, ever perfect, eternally perfect. Sometimes he even, and I don't know how easy it is to follow, but I'm sure at least one place he calls him one of the Ishvara Kotis, one of the special six, and later Purna becomes the last one. The others are all monastic disciples. So anyhow, I wanted to just read a little bit about Bhavanath. This is from They Lived with the God by Swami Chaitanananda, a very wonderful, wonderful book about some of the householder disciples. It starts out, the grace of God is always blowing like the wind over the sea. A sailor who unfurls the boat's sail, catches the wind, and reaches the destination smoothly. Sri Ramakrishna's grace was blowing over Bhavanath Chattopadhyay's life, but Bhavanath suddenly pulled down his sail, putting his spiritual journey in peril. His condition was like that of a man who had put his left leg in one boat and his right in another. Through the Master's grace, Bhavanath ascended to a higher plane of consciousness, but the mysterious Mahamaya entangled him and brought him back down to the world. So, yeah, this is because he really seemed to drift away towards the time when those who loved Sri Ramakrishna the most were most concerned and would come and spend almost day and night. But Sri Ramakrishna still, he had that high opinion. So he said, this is Sri Ramakrishna talking. Bhavanath was one of those, this is Swami Ramakrishnananda. Swami Ramakrishnananda talking. Bhavanath was one of those whom the Master spoke of as having been born perfect, Nitya Siddha. He also said that Bhavanath and Narendra had a special affinity. They were very, very close friends. And Sri Ramakrishna was very happy to see them together, and he encouraged them. He used to say that they were like Purusha and Prakriti, and that they both belonged to the realm of the impersonal absolute. So he liked to pair off this devotees, disciples who were similar nature or could help each other somehow. But Bhavanath married. One day the Master told me to go to him, saying I could learn much from him. So this is Swami Ramakrishnananda, probably the same age, maybe a year younger or something as Bhavanath, and destined to be one of the great monastic disciples. But Sri Ramakrishna sent him to Bhavanath. This is after Bhavanath married that he even sent him there. I wondered why he should send me to a householder to learn, but when I saw Bhavanath, I understood. As we sat talking of God, he went into meditation, and tears of bliss and devotion poured down his cheeks. One could see that he was completely immersed in God. When the Ramakrishna monastery was moved from Baranagar to Alambazar in 1892, Bhavanath continued his visits. He actually was the one who found the Baranagar property when they were doing a search. Narendra paid for it and everything, but he located it. One afternoon, he went to the monastery with his friend Kali Krishna of Baranagar, but soon after his arrival, he decided to return home. He told the monks that he could no longer stay because he was hungry. The disciples told him to wait a little and offered him hot chapatis and curry. Bhavanath enjoyed the refreshments and joyfully exclaimed, "Man cannot live on bread alone." And this goes on. Swami Vivekananda maintained his friendship with Bhavanath even when he was in the United States. In 1894, he wrote in a letter to Swami Ramakrishnananda, How is Bhavanath, and what is he doing? Do you visit him and look upon him with an eye of regard? Yes, brother, the distinction between sannyasin and layman is a fiction. My friend, it is difficult to judge what is in a particular individual. Sri Ramakrishna has spoken highly of him, and he deserves our respect. Fie upon you if you have no faith, even after so much experience. Does he love you? Please convey to him my hearty love and esteem. It says the last 8 years of his life. See, he died very young. He had to travel to different places. He uh, contracted this Kalazar, highly infectious disease, and had to return to Calcutta. He lived in a rented house on Ramakrishna Das Lane. At that time, there was an outbreak of plague, so he was sent to Madhupur. However, after returning to Calcutta, Bhavanath lived for only 1 month. Towards the end, he remained in an ecstatic mood. He seemed to be seeing the master. Sometimes he would utter loudly, Kali, Kali, Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna. He asked his relatives to burn incense in his room and not to touch his body. In the early part of 1896, at the age of 33, 6 years before Swamiji died. Bhavanath died in that rented house in Calcutta. His body was cremated at the Kashipur cremation ground, where Sri Ramakrishna's body had been cremated. Sri Ramakrishna had householder devotees as well as monastic disciples. He said, there are two kinds of yogis, the revealed and the hidden. The householder may be a hidden yogi. No one recognizes him. The householder should renounce mentally, not outwardly. Bhavanath was a hidden yogi. Perhaps the master demonstrated through him how a householder should live in the world. So this is Bhavanath. I thought, since his name, he's featured so prominently in the gospel, and Thakur loved him. Sri Ramakrishna loved him so much. I would say a few things. Okay. Then again, he'll ask Hazra a question. The Hazra will completely misunderstand. It's so foolish. He says, they always meditate. Why is that? Hazra, that's right. Why should they devote all their time to meditate? He's thinking that Sri Ramakrishna is criticizing them. But Sri Ramakrishna is saying, yeah, they're always meditating because they're born with such wonderful samskaras and spirituality. Yeah, so Hazra, that's right. Why should they devote all their time to meditation? It is quite a different thing for them to stay here to attend to your personal needs. Master, possibly you were right. He's being very kind to Hazra. He knows. There's no point in arguing with him. Perhaps others may take their place now. Hazra left the room, leaving the master alone with M. Master, does what I say in the state of ecstasy attract people? So somehow he's in the mood to ask questions to other people. M. Oh, yes, very much. Master, what do people think of me? Do they think anything in particular about me when they see me in that condition? Yeah. Now, it sounds like, why does he care so much what people think about him? But it's not like us asking that question. He has his own reason. He wants to know not only M, but what the close devotees, do they understand how many years of sadhana it took for him to reach that state and what it actually means and what it means to be in communion with God and all of these things. M. We feel in you a wonderful synthesis of knowledge, love, and renunciation, and on the surface, a natural spontaneity. Many divine experiences have passed like huge steamboats through the deep of your inner consciousness. Still, you maintain outwardly this utter simplicity. Many cannot understand it, but if you are attracted by this state alone, see the difference in Hazra's answers and M's answer. How M really had very deep insight in this Ramakrishna. Master, there's a sect of Vaishnavas known as the Ghoshpara, who describe God as the Sahaja, the simple one. Ghoshpara, this is that Kartabhaja group. Ghoshpara is actually, I looked it up one time because we hear about it as two different groups, Ghoshpara, Kartabhaja. But this Kartabhaja sect began in this area called Ghoshpara. I don't know, maybe they became two later groups, but this was Thakur's very good friend, Vaishnav Charan, who was leader of this community. They're the ones who would drink wine and do some other funny things. But they were also, remember the bowels from Shipur here. They also were kind of part of this bowel movement. So they also took part in this very esoteric, mystical type of songs and singing and dancing and things. So Thakur would very often say, unless one is shahoj, one cannot realize the shahoj, the sahaja. One has to be simple. So he didn't respond to M. He doesn't say, yes, you have understood correctly. He brings this other thing up. He says, there's a sect of Vaishnavas known as the Ghoshpara, who describe God as the Sahaja, the simple one. They say further, that a man cannot recognize this simple one unless he too is simple. And they also say one cannot realize God, who is the simple one, unless one is simple. To him, have I any ego? Again, asking these questions. M. Yes, sir, a little. Now, first of all, what does the question mean when he says, do I have any ego? Because we have two words, ahankara and abhiman. They're a little bit similar. It can mean, do I have any pride? Ego can mean pride. Yeah. Am I sensitive? Do I want people to praise me? All of these things. If we say someone is egotistical, then it is not a very good thing. But if we're using it in the sense that do I have some feeling, I-ness, then everybody has that to a certain extent. Only fools don't have that at all. Everybody has some feeling that even if we say I am Brahman, that's a type of ego. I'm a child of mother, that's a type of ego. So everyone will have a little bit. So M says, yes, sir, a little. Now we don't know what M is thinking exactly. Why he says a little. He could say, yes, you have a very strong ego. You know that you're one with God. You know you're a child of Divine Mother. It's a very strong ego. Thakur, a very ripe ego, if we want to put it in those terms. Fully 100% ripe ego. Anyhow, this is M's answer. He's on the spot. Not easy to give an answer right. They're just the two of them are alone, and he's very unexpectedly asking, do I have any ego? What's he supposed to say? Yeah. So he says, yes, sir, a little. You have kept it to preserve your body and enjoy divine love in the company of the devotees and impart spiritual knowledge to them. Further, you have kept this trace of ego by praying to the Divine Mother for it. Now, is it a good answer? Not bad. Not bad, but he won't get 100% marks with this one. Yeah, there'll be a slight little objection. Now, sometimes Ramakrishna will say things like that. Yes, mother, don't efface this ego completely. Let me enjoy the company of the devotee. He'll talk like that a little bit. But he'll do a little correction to M. Now, sometimes he asks M all of these things because he knows M is the one writing everything down. He wants to make sure he gets things correctly. So let me read M's answer again. Yes, sir, a little. You have kept it to preserve your body and to enjoy divine love in the company of the devotees and impart spiritual knowledge to them. Further, you have kept this trace of ego by praying to the Divine Mother for it. Master, no, I have not kept it. It is God himself who has left it in me. Now, if we understand that this Sri Ramakrishna, when he had his nirvikalpa samadhi, that this is an egoless state. There's no sense of I at that time. The I is merged. It emerged in Brahman somehow. And that it was only the command of the Divine Mother remained in Bhavamukha that caused his mind to come down and some little sense of I and little attachment to the body so he could live in the world. So this is not really nitpicking with M. This was a very strong conviction on his part that this was the will of the Divine Mother, that she's the one keeping it for a special purpose to be fulfilled. So he won't go on much. He'll give this simple answer: no, I have not kept it. It is God himself who has left it in me. God means Divine Mother. The problem with the English translation is that we don't have all the nuances. And Bengali language doesn't have a distinction between he and she. If he says she or tini, then it's up to the translator whether to say he or she. I think in Thakur's mind, she sounds better. Always Divine Mother. So his mother herself who has kept it in me. Can you tell me how I appear in the state of samadhi? Another question to M. See, we had the other chapters. M is asking all the questions, and Sri Ramakrishna gives all the answers. Now we have the reverse. M. As you said a little while ago, you see the form of God when your mind rises to the sixth plane. When you speak after that, your mind comes down to the fifth plane. Yeah, this is all part of that mystical language of Kundalini and everything that Thakur talks about. Master, it is God who does all these things. I do not know anything. M. That is why you attract people so much. Sir, I have a question to ask. There are two opinions in the scriptures. According to one Purana, Krishna is Chidatma, the absolute, and Radha is Chit Shakti, its divine power. Yeah, in the Gaudiya Vaishnava school, they speak of that relationship between Krishna and Radha as that between Brahman and Shakti. This is why sometimes Sri Ramakrishna would say that Chaitanya too accepted Shakti. So very symbolic language that Radha would be sometimes they say Hladani Shakti, that Ananda Shakti, joyful. And according to another, Krishna himself is Kali, the primordial energy. Now we have not just in some of these texts, but all the beautiful songs we've seen that talk about Krishna and Kali as both kind of a double manifestation. That there'll be songs, why have you abandoned your head of skulls and now we're the garland of wildflowers, and where is your sword, mother, and now playing your flute. With a lot of songs like that to try to show that the oneness of Kali and Krishna. Master, the second view is held in the Devi Purana. According to it, Kali herself has become Krishna. But what difference does it make? God is infinite, and infinite are the ways to reach him. Now, this is one of the simple statements that Sri Ramakrishna makes that I feel are very important. This is something that I talk about a lot because I have a little bit of a anti-philosophical bent to me. That I think we really fail to understand that statement of Sri Ramakrishna, that every philosophical system is just a path that we follow and is not an ultimate truth. When he says Joto Mat Toto Pat, we are always associated with all different religions or paths. But Mat means any doctrine, any school, that these philosophical systems, these are man-made things concepts we superimpose on this reality to help us understand it. It doesn't change the reality. It is what it is. And what terms we use and how we describe it, and is there any hidden tomb someplace that we can find and open it up and find out that Brahman really is with form and or without form, or has gunas or no gunas, or these are all just human concepts that allow us to understand things and reflect the nature of reality. If not, they're just completely made up. It's not like that. But there's nothing absolute about any of these things. This is why Sri Ramakrishna was equally happy with this qualified non-dualism and with non-dualism. Was equally happy with them. Whereas if we look at it from the point of view of philosophy, they contradict each other and they'll argue against each other. But he never looked at it that way. It was always just a very nice way of trying to understand reality from a certain point of view. So this is very nice when he says, what difference does it make? God is infinite, and infinite are the ways to reach him. And this idea of analogies that sometimes I think we assume that we've understood something if we understand the analogy. Now, I'll give a good example of the sun reflected in the containers of water. Now, I think I understand that perfectly. How one thing can be reflected in many different containers without that one thing changing at all. And each one dependent upon the water, and the water is gone, and the reflection is gone. I understand that perfectly. But if you ask me, do I understand the relationship between the Brahman and the Jiva? I say no. I mean, I have some little bit of a clue, but is consciousness really like the sun? And is the mind really like water? And the body like a container? For the sake of the analogy, to a certain extent, but otherwise, no. Do I think that understanding the sun, which is a physical object, when light and bouncing off another physical object, water, that helps explain this mystery of consciousness and the individual mind and everything? Not really. But it's helpful. It's very, very helpful. And it lets us understand at least that it's possible for something to be the source and to appear and manifest without itself undergoing change. That is very, very helpful. But if we think that by understanding that we've understood everything about Brahman and Jiva and everything, no, we haven't. So he'll remind us again and again that the truth is existence. What is the truth of Brahman? Brahman is the truth of Brahman. There's nothing that we say about it. What does ghee taste like? Ghee tastes like ghee. Yeah. Can you compare it to anything else? Yeah. You want to know what the ocean is like? You have to go to the ocean. Yeah. We can say, oh, you've seen a whale. Picture it much bigger. It'll give us no clue. Okay. This is my own individual rant, by the way. Nobody has to. Philosophy is very important. And I like it, of course, but I understand the limits of it. My problem is that I studied so much of it that I understood that they all think they're so brilliant. The next guy comes along and contradicts it, has his own theory and everything. Now, and we'll take this as something important. It says, and remained speechless with wonder for a few moments, and then said, oh, now I understand. As you say, the important thing is to climb to the roof. Our goal will be achieved if we can accomplish it by following any of the means, a rope or a pole. So whether we follow a dualistic tradition or non-dualistic tradition or any of the others, that's just a means to get to the roof. When we get there, we leave these things behind. Brahman is a-conceptual. It's beyond all of these things. Now, so M has a beautiful understanding, and Sri Ramakrishna is equally appreciative that M has understood this. There's a very nice little section, Master. It is through the grace of God that you have understood that. Without his grace, doubt is never cleared up. So just to say that there's a vast difference between mental conception, philosophical understanding, reasoning and everything, and direct experience. vast difference. But it doesn't mean that this type of trying to put things in some perspective. But of course, that's important. We need the stairs and the rope and the ladder and everything to get to the roof. We can't dispense with it, but we'll leave it behind. And then he'll go right from all of this philosophical thinking to devotion. The important thing is somehow to cultivate devotion to God and love for Him. What is the use of knowing many things? It is enough to cultivate love of God by following any of the paths. So it doesn't matter. Any of the devotional paths, any of the philosophical paths, it doesn't matter. Now, this also doesn't mean that every possible tradition and school of thought is equally good. It doesn't mean that. It's not a completely relativistic thing. There'll be some things that are full of superstition and irrational ideas, and we're told to swallow it all and not think about it. So we have to use our sense and decide what's authentic and what's not authentic. But for Sri Ramakrishna, all of these time-tested spiritual paths, where people had their realization that these are valid and authentic, and we don't have to argue between them. When you have this love, you are sure to attain God. Afterwards, if it is necessary, God will explain everything to you and tell you about the other paths as well. It is enough for you to develop love of God. You have no need of many opinions and discussions. You have come to the orchard to eat mangoes. Enjoy them to your heart's content. You don't need to count the branches and leaves on the trees. It is wise to follow the attitude of Hanuman. I do not know the day of the week, the phase of the moon, or the position of the stars. I only contemplate Rama. Sri Ramakrishna was very, very fond of the other verse attributed to Hanuman that talked about his three different moods and different attitudes. That when he has all of this body consciousness, then he feels that he's a servant of Rama. Rama is the master. When he feels himself as an individual soul, he's part and whole. And when he feels he's the Atman, then he and Rama, you and I are one and the same, he says. So Sri Ramakrishna liked that very much. Swamiji also, this idea that according to our mood and our attitude and philosophical position or stance, what angle are we looking at something from, that these can all be legitimate. There's no contradiction. It just depends upon what is my sense of identification at the time. That'll depend upon or result in a different spiritual attitude and understanding towards the Supreme. M. Now, the back and forth between them, there's so many hidden things left in between, in the silence in between, you can say. What does M say? He doesn't say anything about this cultivating devotion to God, nothing like this. He says, M, I now desire that my activities may be much reduced and that I may devote myself greatly to God. So they're really on the same page with all of this. Really, you can see what a wonderful understanding that the M has, and this intense longing that M had, even I think before meeting Sri Ramakrishna, before meeting him, it was a little bit that he was so unhappy with family life and with worldly life, and just felt out of place there. And then when he met Sri Ramakrishna, how that combined with his longing for not just God realization, but a life of renunciation. He had a tremendous longing to live a full life, and always felt that it was not quite following the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna 100%, and how much he envied those who were able to renounce completely, and how much he really wanted Sri Ramakrishna to give him permission to do it. But he was meant to serve as a different type of ideal. So M said, I now desire that my activities may be much reduced and that I may devote myself greatly to God. M wasn't a wealthy man. He had different schools and was generous without telling people or saying much. He gave money to Swamiji's mother when they were starving and everything. Later to Bhavanath and to Kashipur and everything. So it wasn't easy for him to really. It's not like he had savings he could rely on or anything. He had to keep working. Master, certainly your desire will be fulfilled, but a jnani can live unattached in the world. M, true, sir, but one needs special power to lead an unattached life. See, very openly he's speaking to him. Master, that is also true, but perhaps you wanted the worldly life. Now, I don't like this worldly life. I think this means a householder life, because I've never led a worldly life in the sense of just going after sense pleasure or anything like that. I don't think it really means that. Anybody have the Bengali? Shongshar, yes. Shongshar doesn't have to mean worldly. It means can be family life also. Yeah. Yeah, we almost assume, if we accept this idea of karma, that this will be prarabdha karma will determine to a large extent these types of questions. Do you marry? Do you not marry? Things like that. So that is also true, but perhaps you wanted the worldly life. Krishna had been enshrined in Radha's heart, but Radha wanted to sport with him in human form. So there's nothing about worldliness here. This just means this family relations and things, seeing God that way. Hence, all the episodes of Vrindavan. Now, you should pray to God that your worldly duties may be reduced, and you will achieve the goal if you renounce mentally. Now, we should also remind ourselves this relationship between Sri Ramakrishna and M. M was definitely an antaranga. I remember meeting M's grandson or great grandson. Yeah, many years ago, and he made a big point. He was saying actually that M and the other households were the real inner circle. Not, that's a little bit too much, but it's very clear that Sri Ramakrishna will say to him so many times, yeah, that you belong to this place. You belong to this place. I know your past, your future, everything. Yeah. So he played a very important role, very intimate disciple of Sri Ramakrishna.
How much younger was M from Thakur?
M was 8 years older than Swamiji and the others. Yeah. So how do we figure that? So 36. So he was born in 55. So 20 years, something like that. So if he's 45, because he was around 28 when he came to Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna then, no more, was probably 56, something like that. So 28 years difference, maybe 28 years difference, something like that. Yeah. So he says, and you will achieve the goal if you renounce mentally. Now, M is going to say, okay, that's easy for you to say. But he comes back. But mental renunciation is prescribed for those who cannot give up the world outwardly. Now, Sri Ramakrishna doesn't exactly say that, but M feels that. He always felt that this was doing the best I can because I can't really do 100%. Although he really, for someone in the family situation, he really lived like a sannyasin. Then he says, for superior devotees, total renunciation is enjoined, both outer and inner. Now, Swamiji makes a big point. Each one is great in its own place. Don't think the householder is any less great. Sri Ramakrishna will say things like that. Then there'll be other times when he'll half agree. So Sri Ramakrishna was silent a few minutes and then resumed the conversation. Master, how did you like what I said about renunciation a little while ago? Very much, sir. Master, tell me, what is the meaning of renunciation? So this again will be a very common theme of Sri Ramakrishna's Vairagya. This Vairagya, there's a very standard meaning of it, which really has to do with feeling no attraction to worldly pleasures, having some tremendous longing to give these things up. Sri Ramakrishna always adds in this tremendous longing for God realization. That is not enough to simply say that I don't care for this world, it doesn't appeal to me, that I feel like I'm running away from it, that just someone with no interest in life, escapism, they can also feel like that. So he says, tell me the meaning of renunciation. Renunciation does not mean simply dispassion for the world. It means dispassion for the world and also longing for God. So anuraga. Says Ramakrishna always will add that. Vairagya and anuraga. Master, you were right. You no doubt need money for your worldly life, but don't worry too much about it. The wise course is to accept what comes of its own accord. Don't take too much trouble to save money. And M was really like that. When money came, he would give it away. He didn't bother too much. Those who surrender their hearts and souls to God, those who are devoted to Him and have taken refuge in Him, do not worry much about money. As they earn, so they spend. The money comes in one way and goes out the other. This is what the Gita describes as accepting what comes of its own accord. Yadrichalabha santushtaha. Content with whatever comes. Yeah, this comes a few different places. This is really for the sannyasin who really lives the life, the old life of the sannyasin, where they don't even beg their food. They won't even beg their food. They say they're like the python hanging down, won't go searching for food. If something comes near it, it'll gobble it up. They give that example. They don't go for begging. This is not possible. It's not possible for forget about the household or even monks like us. We'll simply starve. We don't have that faith, for one thing, and the society is not the same also. But after doing what we have to do and striving and everything, then we accept whatever comes. We do it to a certain extent. This begging of food, monks of the Ramakrishna order, we do it at the time of sannyasa for 3 days. It's not a very big deal, a symbolic kind of thing. Some who go for tapasya, they'll also do it. But the rule is that you can go to 5 houses at the most, and you can only accept from 3 houses. So the first 3 you go to, you're finished. If you get something, you go first 5 you go to, you get nothing, you're finished. But you will go back and share with others. But at least it's not an open-ended. You can't be greedy about it. If you've gotten something for the first 3 houses, then you're satisfied with whatever it is. Maybe you get 1 banana. Maybe you get a handful of khichdi or something. Yeah. So practice it just so we can pretend that we're living that type of life a little bit. Okay, this is a good place to stop. So we're stopping at the top of page 507, and we'll continue with this next Friday. And after this, on the next month, September 6th, finally we'll get to the festival at Adhar's house. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukam Bhatudha Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namama. We bow our heads before Sri Ramakrishna, who is stainless, of infinite nature, whose heart melts in sympathy for his devotees, who is an embodiment of the divine and the Supreme Lord, and ever worthy of our worship. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Okay, thank you, everyone.